Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. It is the Friday night Moonbat edition of the broadcast, June 15th, 2012 into Saturday, June 16th, 2012. Thank you for staying up late with us, early with us, however you want to look at it, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for being with us. If you're listening on an archive or something later, thank you as well. We, yet again, it's just been, really abysmally slow on the front of news and that kind of thing lately. So the shows have been kind of abbreviated this week. Yesterday, no show for that reason. But tonight, kind of the same thing. So we just have a few news stories here tonight. A few things, particular things I want to talk about with you tonight that deal with some new findings of mine I've come across in my research for the films. So we'll get into all that, and of course, we will continue our series of reading for you on our Lost Secrets of the Ancient World book that we're going through. So we'll get into that as well for you tonight. My website, where this broadcast originates from, is theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. You'll find all things pertaining to my work up there. Films, past films, documentaries are up there. Archives from the show, the listen link. I told you about the app you can now use for your iPhone, iPad, whatever you want it, the TuneIn Radio app. Definitely check that out. You can stream Global Reality 24/7 there. Take it with you on the go. Buy Secret Right 2 on DVD and Blu-ray up there. And video clips taken from the radio show. Books, condensed down audio format books of all of the different readings we've done here. And, the Lost Book of Enki, just the part one alone, has had, I look now, it's had well over 100,000 views. Gosh, I wish my own movies got that many. But what that tells me is that, I also have another thing it tells me is that it's really gotten me a lot of new listeners. That one specifically, I don't know what it was about that one. That one's really a lot of people I've talked to recently who have found the show in the past, few weeks or a few months in some cases, but literally in some cases just been just a few weeks. And it's all been as a result of that, and it's gotten well over 100,000 now. So I'm in the process. I'm going to upload, since I have a director's account with YouTube. I've had it because I've had an account since before YouTube was even really known about. And got grandfathered in, so I get to keep I can upload. There's really no limit to how long I can upload. So I'm going to create a YouTube file video thing for the entire reading and put it up on my YouTube channel for everybody out there, because it seems to be something a lot of people have found. So maybe I'll put it out there and have that under my own channel, that maybe will, draw more people into my channel, finding some of the other stuff that's up there, like my films and the Reality of Illusion series stuff. So also at theglobalreality.com, my website, you'll find on the right-hand side of the page, if you scroll down, 2 chip-in banners there. One is for the operating cost of the month. The other is for the emergency film budget, and that one ends next week. I'd sent out an email to some folks, and I'd said Monday the 18th. It's actually Thursday the 21st is when that emergency thing ends there. And I forget what the math was. I'll have to go back here and look. But but we'd had such success breaking down what we needed for people. When we had our fundraiser last time, we were trying to get the bills paid for the month. And so that's something I've kind of tried to do more now. People seem to really respond to that. So the emergency chip-in thing we have for the film budget, and I'm going to give you some more information here tonight to show you why it's all the more important. Oh man, I just keep falling farther down the rabbit hole, and I keep having to become one of the things that it's always crazy about this stuff is that it forces you to have to go become an expert in some field of study you never thought you were going to have to learn about or use. It's unbelievable, and that's indeed what keeps happening to me. I'm like, oh God, now I've got to become an expert on pre-Jerusalem Israelite tribes and all this shit, and I'm just never become an expert on that stuff. But our listenership continues to grow. It's insane how much our statistics have been going through the roof lately. And even on the live show, which is always been kind of smaller numbers, always way smaller numbers than it still is than the archives and YouTube videos and stuff. But man, a lot there too. But as far as our emergency film thing goes, it's coming up due next Thursday, so we can get this all important volume 1 because I don't have anything for certain yet. I had one possible, the one possible guy I was telling you guys about for the rock wall dig, according to my friend Steven, is being a total flake. So that's probably out. But there may be a possibility that an interested party may want to, at some point, buy a piece of land and for us to conduct a dig. But in order for that to happen, I've got to fund this Volume 1 film first so that people can see why they should do that. And I think that if I'm able to get the budget and procure the budget, I mean, really, realistically, I need about $5,000. But if I get the rest of what's on the chip-in banner, then that'll at least get me back to work and back to getting closer to having the thing done. And then I can assess what more I need, if anything, after that. So that's what that amount represents there. But anyway, 15 people. If 15 people donate $153, you can break it down even farther into smaller increments from that if you like, if they're more out there, whatever. You do the math. But 15 people, and every person that donates, if you see, the reason I want everybody to do this is I want to be able to specify if you're one of these people. So 15 people donating $153 will get us completed for Volume 1 of the film. That's not including the cost to get the to distribute it, to get it on iTunes and Netflix or to make discs or anything, but that's just to get it completed. So 15 people donating $153, and each one of those 15 people will receive a free signed copy of the new film once it's completed. So there you go. There's that. Then that's why this is all important, and not just because of the new information, but certainly because of that, but also because this is what has to happen for there to, for us to make sure that we get, the interested parties that we need to get this thing done. Now, another fun thing that I want to announce for you that we're starting to tonight. This is to be the first time we do this, but we're going to start doing this on a weekly basis. And this is going to be called the Global Reality All-Stars. Now, the Global Reality All-Stars are going to be our weekly donators who donate $50 or more either to operating costs or to films or whatever have you. And so this week, it's been kind of light this week, to be honest with you. We got some help towards the stream bill, which is due today. I think earlier we got pretty close to that, but anyway, regardless of that, but thank you to those 3 people who did help us get close to getting the stream bill paid today. And so what we're going to do is everybody that donates $50 or more in a week is going to go into the Global Reality All-Stars. I'm going to write all your names down each week, and you'll get the glory of being, getting. I'm not going to tell everybody your last name. I'm just going to say, either your screen name or just your first name, not your last name. And at the end of the month, everybody who is one of our Global Reality All-Stars is going to get their name put in a hat at the end of the month, in which I will draw a name out of that hat, and you are going to get a one-of-a-kind prize from the Global Reality, from me, for being an all-star and making it into the final round of the drawing every month. And it's going to be something cool. It's going to be different every time. And what I'm hoping to do is that hopefully this will be an incentive for more people to want to support my work and my films and what I'm doing. It'll be an opportunity for you to get something in return for that, or at least have an opportunity for. I wish I could give every single person that donates something. I just can't afford to do that right now. But, that's what I'm working towards in the future. Yeah, it'd be great. Maybe we can do that in the future. But that's what I'm saying. That's my plan with this, is I want to do this because it'll encourage people to donate, but also it'll encourage possible sponsors in the future who might want to come forward and sponsor the Global Reality All-Stars, meaning in exchange for them providing a prize for our monthly winner, in exchange for me promoting their product, we'll be able to provide the winner each month with a nice prize. Maybe we'll get somebody, wants to sponsor the show as well, give them, and it'll be kind of a thing there that we can do every month. And if we do it that way, we'll never have to play a commercial. We'll never have to have a banner ad or anything else, because what will happen is we'll have people who will, and I know there will be people that will want to, because it's a great idea. Nobody's really done anything like that yet. And I think it'll encourage people, sponsors, to be like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is a new thing. This is different, because then it's going to encourage people to donate. You're going to be getting something back from that. It's going to be a unique opportunity for people who are good sponsors and actually have good shit to sell, to get their stuff into the hands of people who might not otherwise get their hands on it. You know what I mean? Because that's how people are. They want to try something before they buy it. But if you get, I guarantee you, if you got a product and some of my listeners find out it's good because they want it as a prize, you'll get some business. Don't worry about that. So, without further ado, our Global Reality All-Stars of this week. Drum roll, please. Ace McFly, Captain Paul, and Michael in Michigan. Ace McFly, Captain Paul, and Michael in Michigan. You guys are our Global Reality All-Stars, our first inaugural Global Reality All-Stars weekly donators of $50 or more. And congratulations, men. Thank you for your assistance in my work. And you are going to be entered into our final drawing at the end of the month, where you will all battle in a steel cage with Tina Turner in the background. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding about that. No, don't get too excited. I start saying that, fucking some of these guys go, oh, really? No shit? No. I'm not going to let you battle it out in a steel cage with Tina Turner. No. You'll get your name put in a hat, and it'll be drawn out at the end of the month, and you'll win a fucking fantastic prize from me, from my heart, to show you that I love you and appreciate you helping me out. And there are people who make sacrifices to help out this work. So I want to, try and do something like that, and try to do something that'll also, it'll help. Maybe it'll help give everybody, get everybody a bit of an incentive, and it could really work as an idea that could work all the way around. And like I said, you still have sponsors in there without having to have commercials or ads or anything else. I mean, I'm just trying to think outside the box here. I'm trying to do new things. I'm trying to do things that will improve what we're doing, and really the biggest thing in our way always is just funding. That's it. So that's the thinking. That's where I'm coming from on that. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be, and what we'll do is too, what I hope to do eventually is we'll have a round bracket. You know what I'm saying? That's what I can't do that immediately, but eventually I want to have like a round bracket with this thing where like, okay, $50 for here. It's here. You get, whoever gets their hat drawn out of the $50 hat gets a prize. But, what about those people who donate more than $50? Right? I mean, there are some people who donate more than that every single month. Lot more than that every single month to keep us going. And God bless them and thank them. I mean, I just am eternally grateful. But what I mean is I want to eventually have something for the people who do donate more on a regular basis. Then that, of course, the prize will increase and get bigger with as the donation or whatever increases. So I think it'll be something that will be fun and make it more interesting for everybody and kind of have incentives going and I'll maybe just do something differently, and it's still not having to resort to the commercial aspect, but you can still have sponsors and have products without even having to play any commercials. I think to me it's the best. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's the best thing I've ever thought of personally. Sometimes I don't give myself enough credit, but right there I'm gonna give myself a little credit. Daniel, God bless him too. Daniel is doing a great thing for us right now. Just got an email from him about this. This is pretty cool. So last year when I was working on the Secret Volume 2, I was trying to find some funding, and luckily one of our listeners came through for us, Scott, and I just on a whim, I was like, you know what, I'm going to fucking try Kickstarter, because they always ask me about Kickstarter, Kickstarter this, Kickstarter that. And I've heard people have, some success with it, but, boy, they wouldn't let me through the front door. Not at all. They started trying to dictate to me the content of the film. When I told them what was in the film, they told me that maybe I wanted to leave that out so I could find people that would fund it if I left out certain things. And I was just like, fuck you. And they wanted, every other Kickstarter alternative allows you to use a PayPal account. They won't allow you to use your PayPal account. You have to give them your bank account information. Well, I don't have a bank account. PayPal is my bank account, much to the chagrin of people who think that I'm supporting Ron Paul. They're doing that. But Daniel has, Daniel asked me, sent me a message the other night and said, hey, man, what about Kickstarter? You thought about doing this? It's a public funding thing. You thought about trying to maybe get some money for this, first volume 1 of this film going with this? And I was like, well, they try to dictate. I told them the story, try to dictate blah, blah, blah. And I said, but, what I was thinking is that if there's some, if there's maybe one of our listeners who might want to just go ahead and set one up for us, and I can tell you, what info to put in there, whatever. And you can have it go to your bank account. We'll make it public. And then whenever it's done, you can just PayPal me the cash or whatever. And I just, I wasn't asking Daniel to do that. I just said I had the idea to do that. And Daniel shoots me back an email and says, well, I'll do it. I was like, well, shit, man, that's awesome. I mean, that's just, I just love when people do that kind of stuff, man. That's, thank you. I like when people step up and say, well, I'll do it. That's the thing we need more of. And those are the people who, all the people who support my work, that's the attitude they have for whatever reason. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them and about them, but I'm just the lucky one that they, that they feel that much above to support. But, yeah, this is a really cool thing. But anyway, he's going to set up this Kickstarter thing for us. And maybe see if we can get, some other people out there interested in it and get that going and get this first volume 1 out. Because like I said, that's the key crucial thing. I really don't have any doubts. I mean, the interest is so high. Now, you wouldn't believe, man. And, it's... I don't know. I'm just honored and humbled to be here. That's all. I've just been following this and doing this for so long. It's just like second nature to me now. But for me to see it, like, starting to get some attention, people starting to, have interest in it, it's awesome. So, yeah, Daniel, I don't know if you're listening right now, but yeah, I'll when I'm done with the show, I'll send you the rest of the info that you need there to get that going for us. Appreciate that. So, there you go. All right. Well, cool. Let's see some feedback in the chat room. Everybody says that a couple people say they like the idea. So, yeah, right on. Yeah, I just appreciate all the people who do donate. I really wanted to start having something, on a regular basis where we have a little drawing and, give away a prize, have to get something every month to give back to the listeners and, try to show you guys my appreciation. And I think that, you guys just keep on pushing behind me, man. I really feel for the first time we're really starting to get somewhere with this. Really, in a big, big way. So, those of you who have pushed and supported us, please continue to help us push and support us more, because now's the time more than ever. And I think some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about with you here tonight will probably further that. Let's see if we have here in the email. Oh, and there's one popping up. Rick, this is Rick in San Diego. Rick says, hey, I wanted to ask you, have you ever looked into the whole Olmec Black connection? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, God damn, Rick. Are you a freaking mind reader? Rick's done that before. That's great minds think alike is all it is. And Rick is definitely one of the great minds out there. That's for sure. No question about that. Yeah, but no, really. I mean, Rick is one of the great minds out there. It just seems like I'm just laughing because it just seems every time I'm on to something, he's he'll send me an email, go, oh, hey man, you ever looked at this? And I'll be like, God damn, how'd you know? No, because there's supposedly there's a connection to the Olmecs and the Toltecs and the Olmecs maybe possibly being in Louisiana. There was an article. I've got it over here in... What I had to do was I had so many fucking tabs open from researching, on a research tear, that I had to... My whole computer was like basically not working anymore because I had like literally like fucking 92 tabs open and this thing is just maxed out. So I had to make a stack of all these articles, and somewhere in this stack of links that I had to make a notepad thing for is a link, Rick, to to the stuff with the Olmecs. Because of course the Olmecs, I guess the common thing why people think that, and I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% convinced they were blacks or Africans, but I'm not 100%, not convinced either. But I mean, not to even try to be rude or crude or anything else, but I believe you can double check me on this. I'm about 99.9% I'm right about it. But the Olmecs who were accredited with, I'm going to crack myself up even talking about this because it's just funny. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't hate on David Hatcher Childress at all. I think he's a good researcher and I've enjoyed a lot of his work, but it's just, God damn it, he's just too funny. But, David Hatcher Childress will talk about giant black balls, South America, some kind of giant black balls. And those were associated with the Olmecs and the giant stone heads in South America. Some kind of ancient alien giant race. So, I mean, I think that's where, certainly not all of it is being derived from, Rick, but yes, the giant heads and giant stone balls The giant stone balls are both associated with the Olmecs. So what Rick is saying here, have I heard that, the Olmecs were black and the connection to that? I've been reading that the original people here in America over 10,000 years ago were Australoids, or black people from Australia and the Pacific Islands. They settled in Patagonia and South America. Now, some Australoid black people sometimes get yellow and blonde or red hair. Could it be these people instead of the Amorites or Caucasians? No, absolutely not, because they did not possess the technological skill. I know what you're talking about, but that hasn't been 100% proven that they were here in the United States. I know that they say that they were in South America and stuff, but as far as whether they were here in what we call the United States now, I have come across that. I've heard of that, but I have not seen any conclusive evidence that says 100% that they were here. But it doesn't mean that they weren't, and one doesn't. I think you're looking at this the wrong way, Rick. The existence of one doesn't discount the existence of the other, or the arrival of one in North America at one period does not discount the arrival of another one at another period. The fact of the matter is there were people all over the place. But I'm glad you asked that. And usually these are the ones you're talking about that are putting this stuff out, are your Afrocentrics, really. Those are the ones that are putting this stuff out, and they muddy the waters for other people who are challenging the conventional story of archaeology. But what I've been blown away to find is that, if you go read about Amorites or whatever on Wikipedia, it'll tell you they were, most of the mainstream stuff talks about them being ran out of the Middle East at some point, and then they fled to their copper mines in the West where they had been bringing this copper to the Middle East. But I got this book called Amorites and Canaanites. It was an old, professional dissertation or presentation. And it's a book. I got it off Amazon for like $10. It's called Amorites and Canaanites. Actually, the copy I got came from an old library. It was an old library book. And I think it was published in like 1947 or something like that. But the fascinating thing in here that I was reading some of it tonight for the show. And the fascinating thing that I had not realized, because like I said, it won't tell you this, it doesn't say it in the proper way in most of the mainstream sources where you read about anything about the Amorites, but my goodness. You had the Canaanites and the Amorites actually they weren't the same people. They were two separate people, but they existed in that area. But the Canaanites were on the coast, and the Amorites were hill people, essentially hillbillies. But what they don't make clear in the mainstream stuff that I've seen out there on the internet and whatnot is that they'll tell you the Amorites got ran out of the Middle East, okay, blah blah blah. But who ran them out, and where they ran them out of? And then you find out, oh, wait a minute, these guys were actually the ones who were originally inhabiting Palestine. And so, what I come to find out from reading this book that I got is that the Amorites were who were ran out of Palestine during the exodus of the Israelites into Palestine. And that's just so fascinating. Oh, my God. So let me get this straight. Not only do we believe that, the Native Americans were here first and the white man stole their land, when in fact there were people who seeded even them that were here long before them, but also the people who we are told are the God's chosen people and the people who are supposed to inhabit Palestine are also a different people than who we're told are supposed to be those chosen people. And coincidentally enough, they're the same people who also existed in the Americas long before Christopher Columbus and long before what we know as modern Native Americans. I mean, unfucking believable. Unbelievable, folks. And this stuff keeps pushing farther and farther back. And now I understand why these bloodlines and, these Rothschilds setting up Zionism, the rise of the priest class, which came about just after, because right after that is when you started to see Babylon rise. Right after the Amorites fled, it was just prior to the establishment of Babylon. So now we understand why and who Hitler was looking for, because these Amorites were said to be the Aryans. And we know why Hitler was being funded to exterminate these Sephardic Jews. Just like in Iran, they want to take back their land. This is all foretold by the main forebearer of the current bloodlines of the world, even prior to Merovinius Meravi, that was King Darius in Iran, and the Behistun inscription is there, and it says all my bloodline descendants will rule over these lands forever. So the modern day priest class, which is extended from the original priest class, which goes back to the Levites, the Levite tribe, and all subsequent world religions were spawned from them. I mean, from the same Levite bloodlines. I mean, shit, look at fucking Jay-Z throwing up that symbol he throws up, the Jay-Z symbol, that's a symbol of the Levites. Give me a fucking break. The Mormons, Brigham Young, and Joseph Smith, their bloodline goes back to that, Levites. Also, Charles Taze Russell, Watchtower Society, same thing, Levites. And so one faction split off and took one end of what became the Judeo-Christian end, one end split off into Judaism, but all factions of the same power structure. And these people essentially were these ancient, this is why they wanted to wipe out the Middle East population. You understand? The bloodline of some of the people in Iraq and the ancient Middle East, their bloodline goes back to these Amorites. And they're trying to wipe out every single trace of these guys, because the fucked up thing is they verify but also contradict religious teachings, the knowledge of them and the existence of it. It's insane. It's like the Christians don't want you to know the Amorites were in the United States, and they don't want you to know what they were up to because they don't want you to know that these guys were basically fucking Arabs, right? But they'd like you to know because, then it verifies their Nephilim thing and all that stuff. So it's a whole messed up thing. But, if you think these guys aren't doing this to keep their game going, you're just flat wrong. But now we're starting to see this phony disclosure and stuff coming out. I think that's all the news. That's all the emails we have. Let's see what we have in our news tonight. Boy, some interesting stuff here. Uranium series dating reveals Iberian paintings are Europe's oldest cave art. Paleolithic paintings in El Castillo cave in northern Spain date back at least 40,800 years, making them Europe's oldest known cave art, according to new research published June 14th in Science magazine. The research team was led by the University of Bristol and included Dr. Paul Pettit from the University of Sheffield's Department of Archaeology, a renowned expert in cave art. Their work found that the practice of cave art in Europe began up to 10,000 years earlier than previously thought, pushing it back, indicating the paintings were created either by the first anatomically modern humans in Europe or perhaps by Neanderthals. A total of 50 paintings in 11 caves in northern Spain, including the UNESCO World Heritage Sites of Altamira, El Castillo, and Tito Bustillo, were dated by a team of UK, Spanish, and Portuguese researchers led by Dr. Alastair Pike of the University of Bristol in the UK. As traditional methods such as radiocarbon dating do not work where there is no organic pigment, the team dated the formation of tiny stalactites on top of the paintings using the radioactive decay of uranium. This gave a minimum age for the art. Where larger stalagmites had been painted, maximum ages were also obtained. Hand stencils and discs made by blowing paint onto the wall in El Castillo Cave were found to date back to at least 40,800 years, making them the oldest known cave art in Europe, 5,000 to 10,000 years older than previous examples from France. A large club-shaped symbol in the famous polychrome chamber at Altamira was found to be at least 35,600 years old, indicating that the painting started there 10,000 years earlier than previously thought, and that the cave was revisited and painted a number of times over a period spanning more than 20,000 years. Dr. Pike said evidence for modern humans in northern Spain dates back to 41,500 years ago, and before them were Neanderthals. Our results show that either modern humans arrived with painting already part of their cultural activity. Oh, that's funny, isn't it? That's just the goddamnedest thing, isn't it? These humans, they just crawled right out of the muck painting. We were creative bastards right from the jump street, weren't we? Right. I mean, my gosh. No, because we were already the result of evolution over periods of time. That's why you can't explain evolution with humans in the proper ways, because you're missing data. Because our traits, I mean, we're an invasive species, man. We are not we're not naturally occurring here. Someone created us through genetic manipulation, and we have thrived to the point that we have taken over this motherfucker, and we are a full-blown virus on this planet, and it is no joke. But I love this because, that's one of the things they found. Well, there's a lot of evidence that has been found that even the Neanderthals weren't just some. They try to tell us that they were some unevolved human, essentially, some unevolved version of us, but they were actually their own species. And they had traits it's been determined that we don't have. They don't have near the hip and joint problems, so their walking pattern was better than ours. And our human genome has all of these deformities and abnormalities it shouldn't have that are unexplained, that we don't know where they come from. Because they come from eons and eons of breeding on a different place at a different time than we have any idea. But again, I like that all these stories are coming out, and they're just slowly, okay, old Reeves is onto something over here. Let's keep pushing it back. Yeah, well, now we're finding cave art as old as 100,000 years old. Oh. We see evidence for earlier human symbolism in the form of perforated beads, engraved eggshells, and pigments in Africa 70 to 100,000 years ago, but it appears that the earliest cave paintings are in Europe. And isn't that interesting? All this DNA stuff they've done on, Native Americans, and their bloodlines all trace back to a common European ancestor. It just so happens that that's where these cave art originates from. I mean, is it possible that what the Native Americans say is true, is that their people came literally out of the ground? Maybe that's true. Maybe they came out from inside of the earth and into inner earth, inside of the earth. I mean, the more stories I see where, because think about it, why? I mean, doesn't that make sense? Wouldn't that make sense? Because everybody, haven't we been told from time immemorial that, the oldest ancient people were cavemen, right? Cavemen. They lived in caves. But why did they live in caves? That's all the shelter they could find. I mean, caves aren't found everywhere, right? But why are we led to believe that these cavemen all over the place, every single last motherfucking one of them lived in a goddamn cave? Because that was their origin. That's where they originated from. And this art backs it up. I mean, the Cave of Forgotten Dreams, I think it is, the one in France, they got, you can see this, the Werner Herzog documentary they made where they didn't really show any of the real good stuff, but they did show some stuff. But regardless of that, they literally say in there, these were done over the course of they were all done by one person with absolute positive evidence. They were all done by the same person, the stroke of the same hand. And we know that for a fact. But what we can't explain is that there were also, we know for an absolute positive fact, that they were done over the course of about 5,000 years. So what does that say? Or do you have an immortal cave dweller or a time-traveling cave dweller? I don't know. What do you think? Mysterious bones may belong to John the Baptist. A small handful of bones found in an ancient church in Bulgaria may have belonged to John the Baptist, the biblical figure said to have baptized Jesus. Well, good. They'll have the Vatican will now have a complete set then, because they already got his fucking head. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, you can look it up. John the Baptist's head. You can go to the fucking Vatican. It's right near the Vatican. You can go visit it. And not only do they have his skull in this weird wall thing that you can walk through and go look at, but it's also wrapped in a gold-plated ephod. And an ephod is a Kabbalistic communication device. And these stones supposedly represent the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 different extraterrestrial races. It's a communication device. You can see it in Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. At the end, where the Nazis are opening up the Ark of the Covenant, you can see the guy standing there. He's wearing one. The Pope's fish hat is an ephod as well. The Queen's royal crown, that's an ephod as well. And it's a spirit world communication device. And only the highest level priests know how to access it. There's actually a picture where you can see the Pope has one on. He's wearing a little ephod thing around his neck or on his clothes somewhere. And it's a big joke to those guys because they think most of us don't know what it is. And I know exactly what it is. It's a spirit world telephone. And what's interesting is an ephod looks very similar. If you have an iPhone, take your iPhone and look at your keypad for your phone on your iPhone and then look at an ephod. It looks very similar. And, go ahead and count how many buttons you have on there. So yeah, apparently they have now found his body because they know where his head is. But why the fuck would you make an ephod communication? The only reason you would do that is if you were doing things like what the Templars were doing, where they were, they would do these rituals with severed heads where they would conjure demons that would come through the severed heads and communicate with them, and they would divulge information to them. And the fact that that's real close to the Vatican, John the Baptist's head with an ephod communication jewel set wrapped around it, lets you know right there what these sick fucks in Rome have been up to. Communicating with the man said to have baptized Jesus' skull to talk to demons or whatever. Boy, that's that loving Christian Vatican for you, isn't it? Boy, they're the purveyors of the light, aren't they? There's no way to be sure, of course, as there are no confirmed pieces of John the Baptist to compare the fragments of bone. What, you lying motherfuckers? Oh, caught in bullshit. I'm about to call you on your bullshit. Who are you, Stephanie Pappas? At the senior editor, the senior writer at Live Science Magazine. Well, Stephanie, get ready, because you are about to receive the full-blown Monty of Mr. Josh Reeves. You are about to receive your ass handed to you on a plate by my knowledge and my evidence and my proof and my pictures that I get from a Google search in 2.5 seconds, you dumb bitch. You could have found this yourself. It doesn't take magical powers. Oh, my God. See, I was pumping it up there. No, it's bullshit. Bullshit. There is no, look, I've said this once, I'm going to say it again. There is no excuse in this day and age why anybody should be ignorant. There's no excuse. So that statement that she made here didn't come from an official source or as a part of this article. That came from her own work. There's no way to be sure, of course, as there are no confirmed pieces of John the Baptist to compare the fragments of bone. Horseshit. Bullshit. How much did they pay you to fucking look over that fact? Or rather, to overlook that fact. There, you can go look it up. I'm sure probably somebody's already dropped it in the chat room by now. Nobody's dropped John the Baptist's fucking head in the goddamn chat room yet? I mean, I'm going to have to do it. Because, I mean, if you hadn't seen this, you got to see it. Because, I mean, you can go look up, I mean, they cut his head off, right? I mean, this thing is just, this is just like one of the most sick and sadistic things you'll ever see. And not only that, but to clear up any confusion if you go and visit Rome, if you go and visit St. Peter's Basilica or the Vatican or any of that stuff, and just to be clear for you that it is indeed the head of John the Baptist, they, right above where the ephod is, they put a nice little painting, little picture of John the Baptist up there, just so there's no doubt whose head that really is. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I see all the time. That's just poor journalism. There is no excuse by someone who's the senior writer at Live Science not to know a fact like that, and it's sloppy journalism. And I'm going to suggest this woman lose her job. She ought to know that. She should be fired. Because if it wasn't a slip-up, then it was blatant disinformation. Either one of those is a problem. But there it is. I dropped it in the chat room for you. And look at that fucking creepy-ass thing. So you want to tell me they don't have any other bone to compare? They sure as fuck do. And it's in Rome. And it's in the Vatican. You better get somebody on the horn. But, I mean, I guess that's the official story they're putting out. There's no way to be sure, of course. There are no confirmed pieces of John the Baptist to compare fragments of the skull to the bone. Yes, there is. But the sarcophagus holding the bones was found near a second box bearing the name of St. John and his feast date of June 24th. Now, new radiocarbon dating of the collagen in one of the bones pegs its age from the early 1st century, consistent with the New Testament and Jewish histories of John the Baptist's life. But, I mean, I don't even have to read any further. Somebody's got an agenda. Somebody's lying about something. And we know they're lying because, fuck, there it is. There's the proof. There's the skull. They want to claim, well, too bad we can't test it against any other bones. We don't have, and not even to mention that John the Baptist got his head cut off either. Not even going to mention that. Because notice how they didn't say the head was with the body, right? They didn't mention that, no. And there's nothing else to compare it with. There sure is something else to compare it with. So, Live Science Magazine, doesn't surprise me. They probably get funding from the Rockefellers. You are a bunch of fucking liars. And I am going to yell and scream and suggest that Stephanie Pappas, a Live Science senior writer, be fired or at least reprimanded for her sloppy fucking journalism. God damn. And you know what? She's probably got a degree, too. And there are a bunch of people running out there with degrees. They're running around out there with degrees that, that don't really know shit. Let's see what else we have here. More crazy stories from the fucking fluoride reduction, I believe. A trauma surgeon sought in connection with the killing of his ex-girlfriend in Buffalo, New York, has been found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound near his home on Friday, according to police. Authorities have been searching for 49-year-old Dr. Timothy Jordan since Wednesday morning. Jordan was wearing scrubs when his body was discovered beside a creek in a wooded area not far from his Lakeview home. Police said they were able to identify the surgeon by his tattoos, but they declined to specify where he shot himself. Jordan's neighbors say that the respected surgeon was always meticulous about his work, his appearance, and even the landscaping at his home. But all that changed this past spring when neighbors say the 49-year-old man began putting less effort into things he previously approached with such care. The once affable doctor also became less friendly and dropped about 75 pounds. Meth, 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 meth. That's what that sounds like. Looks like some straight up meth. Yeah. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. I don't know what to say, but again, people going crazy. A Pennsylvania mother allegedly hooked her 14-year-old daughter on drugs, including heroin, and injected her with hundreds of shots of heroin when the teen was too sick to do it. Investigators say Brandy Baumgartner, 38, began smoking marijuana with her daughter when she was just 12 years old. The girl, who is not being named to protect her identity, told authorities she began using harder drugs and began her heroin habit at age 14. Boy, that is just, well, that's good parenting right there, isn't it? My goodness. What better for your kids than to shoot them up for at 14 when they're too sick to do it themselves from, being dope fiends. That's, boy, that's another one of those things you see, though, and you're like, God damn, no wonder they want to kill us all. Daredevil stuntman Nick Walinda became the first person to walk on a tightrope across the Niagara Falls, taking steady, measured steps on Friday night for 1,800 feet across the most fogged brink of the roaring falls. Although tethered to the wire to prevent falling to nearly certain death, he still contended with wind, water, and an unfamiliar wire as he walked all the way from U.S. to Canada. The daring acrobat set off around 10:15 to whoops and cheers from the crowd at the atmospheric event and arrived on the other side of the falls within half an hour. And the Flying Walindas, he comes from a pedigree of that. Yeah, the family he comes from, the Flying Walindas. Drive-by truckers have a song about them. A bunch of them died at falling off high wires and stuff like that. But yeah, that is just fucking crazy. Seeing the perspective shot, man. Woo. Because yeah, it's the wind and the spray of the water and everything. And the water spraying on the ropes. It's going to make it slippery. That's just absolutely insane. A U.S. Air Force spaceplane in orbit for more than a year will come back to Earth this weekend, say officials who remain mum on the mission's purpose. So it's going to land today, Saturday, at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. So any of you out there with cameras in the California area, you might want to be on the lookout for this thing today. And you might be able to get some shots of this X-37B thing coming down. We've talked about it quite a bit here through the years. Definitely some kind of weapon. For the fourth time in the past 2 years, I mean, you got to remember that 4 times in 2 years. I mean, this makes zero sense. And again, past 2 years is when this fluoride reduction has happened. For the fourth time in the past 2 years, a Cincinnati man has been arrested for masturbating in public with the aid of a teddy bear. Charles Marshall, 28, was arrested Wednesday evening after employees at a health clinic spotted him pleasuring himself in an alley. Marshall, pictured in the adjacent mugshot, was cited for disorderly conduct. This is the third time. So this guy's been caught 4 times fucking a teddy bear, fucking a bear in public. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. Fucking a teddy bear in an alley. You know, at least do it in a bathroom, in a stall, behind closed doors, with some hand cream. You know, somewhere like that where decent, common people fuck teddy bears. You know what I mean? That's why this guy got caught. Look, dude, nobody, nobody's got anything, hold anything against you because you fucked a teddy bear, right? It's a common, normal thing that many of us do. So we're not on you for that. God damn it, dude. Time and a place. I mean, you gotta be put in jail for that alone. Time and a place, dude. Nobody wants to see you fuck a teddy bear. It's just not something people get up every day and go, you know what? I'd like to see a black man in an alley fuck a teddy bear. That's what I want to see today. It's just, they don't want that. So keep it behind closed doors, keep it in your pants, but Jesus Christ. You know, I mean, at least, I don't know. I just saw, like, remember all I got in my head was this fucking mental image when I saw that article. Remember Teddy Ruxpin back in the 80s? Like a tape deck in him, and he put the tape deck and push play, and he'd be like, hi, I'm Teddy Ruxpin, want to play? Like, you know, his eyes would move around and shit, all animatronic. That's what I got a vision of, was this guy, like, you know, Teddy, he's like pulled one of the eyes out of the eye socket, right? And because, you know, it moves around, right? So it's probably good when you're getting your penis in it or whatever. And so he's, all I had when I saw that story, I just got a vision of this guy like skull fucking Teddy Ruxpin. You know what I mean? That's all the vision I got. Man arrested for skull fucking Teddy Ruxpin for the 4th time in public today. What you in for, man? I was fucking a teddy bear, dude. Yeah, right. Nobody's going to believe that guy. You know, he goes in jail. What you in for, man? I fucked a teddy bear. No, really? Seriously. And he's going to be, no, I really did. And then somebody's going to beat his ass and probably shank him because they're going to think he's lying. 2 men were arrested Thursday for breaking into an apartment and biting off the occupant's ear. You know, no bath salts were involved in this. No bath salts at all. No bath salts involved in any of these stories we talked about here tonight. So, you know, the kind of blame of the bath salt thing, I think, is kind of losing its grip, because clearly there is fucked up shit going on all over the place, and bath salts are not associated with all of those things. And yet nobody wants to talk about what happens when you start reducing fluoride in people who are used to having a certain amount of it over a long period of time, and you drastically reduce it. This is the kind of stuff you see because it makes you docile. Fluoride makes you docile. They used it in concentration camps to keep them docile. Keeps you doing your work, and if you start taking that away in large quantities, what are you obviously going to get? What is the opposite of docile? Fucking going crazy nuts rage monster, right? I think that about brings us up to speed. Scientists have discovered that planets do not need stars similar to our sun in order to form, implying that Earth-like planets are much more abundant than first thought. Dun, 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 dun. Well, that's a game changer, isn't it? That means that life doesn't have to take on any of the common forms we've told that it does. You know, because we're told, oh, well, it has to have the sun, blah, blah. Well, maybe not necessarily. The formation of small worlds like Earth previously was thought to occur mostly around stars in heavy elements such as iron and silicon. However, new ground-based observations combined with data collected by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope shows small planets form around stars with a wide range of heavy element content and suggests that they may be widespread in our galaxy. So that, yeah, again, very, very interesting stuff there. Boy, talking about a woman who won't give up what she believes in Amy Copeland, 24 years old. She was the first person to contract this flesh-eating bacteria from a zipline injury. They just continued to chop body parts off this poor girl. And every time they chop a body part off, she just smiles and says, "You know what? I'm still alive. It's okay." And it's unbelievable. She's really become a big inspiration for a lot of people. But I really hadn't really been paying a lot of attention to this story. But till this caught me kind of by eye, because it's just one of those cases where when you believe in something and you have a belief and that belief is true and real and warranted, nobody or nothing can shake you from it, man. It just can't happen. And here's this young girl who had this terrible thing happen to her. She's now in serious condition. She's had everything amputated, dude. She's basically a head and a torso now, man. And she is a beautiful girl, very beautiful. But this is just unbelievable to me. Flesh-eating bacteria victim who lost 4 limbs refuses morphine despite her being in agony because she believes in holistic medicine. People have been talking about being inspired by this girl and how she's an inspiration, all this stuff, and I really didn't, see it or care or anything else. But I got to tell you what, seeing that now, wow. How many of us, no matter how much we know about the pharmaceutical industry and how much we know about the medical industrial complex and their evils, how many of us, how many of you, me even, despite how strong our beliefs are, especially in this realm of, down the rabbit hole, most of us, if we had all our arms and our legs cut off, would be like, fuck it. You know what? Give a fuck about the medical industrial complex right now. Give me the fucking morphine. Pump it fucking full. Just pump it in. Here she is, sticking by her guns, doesn't believe in these non-holistic medicines, these medical poisons. God damn. Tougher than a lot of guys. Oh, man. I mean, it just blows me away. So we wish her all the best, and we hope that she pulls through. Biggest thing is she hadn't given up. And when you don't give up, that's you've got more of a chance than anybody. No matter if you're losing all your arms and everything. That's the main thing. The main reason, and people just give up in life sometimes. That's why healthy people just contract cancer out of the blue sometimes. Because some people just give up, man. And if you give up on life, it's going to give up on you. That's just all there is to it. So, yeah, Amy Copeland, we wish her all the best. Wow. Unbelievable, man. You want to talk about inspiration. That's an inspiration right there. I don't know how many of us in the same situation would stick by our guns and what we believe in, And that's a case of it right there. She needs to be saluted for that, I think. We're going to take a break, come back, and we will be getting into our continued series of reading for you here tonight. This is the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Stay with us. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. My website where this broadcast originates from is theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. Please donate and support our work there if you can. We have to pay the stream bill today, so that's going to leave us pretty low. So any support that we can get there, because, I've got to keep on trucking. That will be of great help. We have one for the bills for the month. We also have one there for the film I talked about earlier on the show tonight. And we also have the donate button. You can put any amount up to like $9,999 in it per day, per account. There's also a P.O. Box if you absolutely can't use PayPal. And we also have the Amazon gift list that has items we need on it there for our work. So, again, kind of slow this week. And if you want to be an all-star and get in the running for the drawing at the end of the month, donation of $50 or more will get you in there and get you a one-of-a-kind prize from the Global Reality. Chapter 24, Bolivia's Atlantic Canals. A former air photo interpreter for Britain's Royal Air Force, J.M. Allen proposes that South America is Plato's lost continent of Atlantis. The results of Allen's extensive research have been published in Atlantis, the Andes Solution. High-resolution satellite imagery reveals the remains of an ancient canal system in South America similar to that described by Plato in the dialogues Timaeus and Critias, his 4th century BC account of Atlantis. Are these canals proof of the lost civilization's former existence? I have long held that it originally flourished in a region of Bolivia known as Altiplano, the high plain. My conclusion was based upon a number of geographic features from Plato's report, which correspond to the Altiplano to nowhere else in the world. To begin, Plato's Atlantis was a large continent opposite the Straits of Gibraltar. He stated that in the center of this continent, midway along its longest side, there existed a smooth and level plain surrounded by mountains. These were rich with gold, silver, copper, tin, and a mysterious alloy called orichalcum. Orichalcum, where have I heard that before? And, this idea that Atlantis is in just one place or something, that's another one of those cases of just poor research. All the accounts state that it was something that was all over the world, so there would be evidence of it all over the world. That's why I think that's what's been wrong up to this point, is everybody's looking for one location instead of evidence for this thing all over the world. The second most valuable metal was orichalcum. In the center of the plain and 5 miles from the sea stood a mountain forming a central island surrounded by concentric rings of land and water. The plain itself was of rectangular configuration and crisscrossed by a stream of irrigation drainage canals, sometimes represented in popular drawings in a checkerboard pattern, or, as Plato said, channels were cut in straight lines across the plain, and they transported, also on boats, the season's products by cutting transverse passages from one channel to the next. He went on to state that the civilization of Atlantis disappeared during the course of a single day and night of terrible earthquakes and floods. Since then, scholars have been unable to determine whether the whole story was invented by Plato or at least had some basis in geographical and historical fact. Contrary to standard arguments for and against Atlantis, I conclude that the entire continent on which it perched did not sink into the sea, but only the region surrounding the capital city, which was built on a volcanic island in the center of the plain. Now, that's interesting because maybe, I don't know, maybe that's interesting. Let me read that again. So the capital of Atlantis was built on a volcanic island in the center of a plain. Now, that's interesting because one of the cities real close to Rockwall, in Collin County, close to Lake Lavon, where they found other things, is called Plano, meaning the plain. And the geological evidence for the Rockwall area shows that this was a geologically volcanic active area. So it's highly interesting to me, the correlation between Rockwall and this alleged capital of Atlantis. And again, Atlantis going all over the place. And was with the other Atlantean tidbits we found connected to the Rockwall thing, it just makes it even more interesting. This continent could have only been South America. Plato's level rectangular plain is the Altiplano, which in fact exists exactly where he assigned it, in the center of the whole continent, and midway at its longest side. All the metals Plato mentioned are found here, including orichalcum, a natural native alloy known as tumbaga, which is a mixture of copper and gold. When the copper is dissolved from its surface, Tumbaga has the appearance of pure gold. After a series of 5 expeditions to the region, an island volcano was indeed found in the center of the plain, 5 miles from the sea. This island has 2 concentric rings of land. Its canal-like depressions could have contained water when the level was when the level of the nearby inland sea, Lake Popo, was higher. The island also features red, white, and black stone. The same colored construction materials Plato wrote were used to build Atlantis. Furthermore, the Bolivian island has been inundated by earthquake-generated floods. Part of it are covered with coral-like deposits called catawai. These are fossilized sediments from a period when the area was totally submerged beneath Great Lakes. Geologists know once covered the area. A local native myth known as the legend of the Desaguardo tells how a great city was punished by the gods and sank beneath the sea, closely paralleling Plato's vision. And that's another interesting thing I come across more and more in researching the Atlantis stuff and its connection to all this. And it's just so fascinating that it's said that one of the reasons that the Atlanteans were destroyed was because up until that time they had the first brotherhood of man on Earth. And this is how we know, one of the reasons why we know that it did indeed spread throughout the world, because it was all countries and all places in the world, and they had a brotherhood of man, and they lived in harmony and lived in peace and, tranquility for years and years and years. And eventually, the people at the top, as they always do, thirsted for more power and started to enslave the people and turn it from a brotherhood of man into really the first stab at worldwide enslavement, global government. And it said that they were also engaging in bestiality, and this is what caused their demise. Now, the part where it says they were engaging in bestiality, they never really iterate on that. And after doing some digging and looking at some various things in terms of that, it's very interesting, because the idea that the Atlanteans were humans, or at least part human, or human-like, but also, alien-like as well in many ways. And the idea that this charge of bestiality, of them breaking, the laws of the gods or what have you, stemmed from the fact that these Atlanteans took up, and Michael Tsarian talks about this in some of his work, took up wives that were humans. And because at that time humans were seen as animals, or at least from the perspective of these extraterrestrials, when the Atlanteans interbred with them, this was considered by the gods to be bestiality, because man was an animal who was tinkered with and then made to be, somewhat domesticated, but still a worker. And that's one of the key hidden things, and I found that to be a widely held belief, and I kind of found that on my own and found out that other people found that before me. But it's a fascinating thing that this, to think, because, if you put yourself in the perspective of an extraterrestrial, especially, when you think about creating these humans out of these existing life forms and using them to do your labor, yes, you're going to look at them as no different than you would look at, a mule or a horse, or, right? I mean, if you bred a horse to do work for you, or you bred a cow to do work for you, and then you went out and put your dick in it, that would be bestiality, right? Well, I think that's the common thing, because you see that in all the writings about Atlantis. But I think people think that, oh man, these Atlanteans, they were fucking donkeys, they were back there, chicken fuckers, right? But no, you're looking at it from the wrong context. You're not looking at it from the right context, from the context and perspective of the alien. these Atlanteans interbreeding and having sex with regular humans would be considered bestiality, and this is why they were brought down. So it's fascinating stuff, and it just kind of one of those tangents, I found doing research. A local native myth known as the legend of Desaguardo tells how a great city was punished by the gods and sank beneath the sea, closely paralleling Plato's version. The name Atlantis consists of two Native American words, Atl, which means water in Tenoche, the language spoken by Aztecs in the Valley of Mexico, and Antis, or copper, in Quechua, as spoken by the Incas. Plato also mentions that the god of the sea, known to his fellow Athenians as Poseidon, had 5 pairs of twin sons. According to Spanish historian Sarmiento de Gamboa, the Indian god of the sea, Viracocha, also had 5 pairs of twin sons. See, here we go. Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl, Jesus, he's right in there. He's in the same, he's one of these other incarnations. Gamboa clearly identified South America as Atlantis in the beginning of his work and relates it that it was variously named the Atlantic island, Atlanticus, New Castile, or America. Plato provided a date of 9,000 years before Solon for the end of Atlantis, but in fact says his period coincided with a war between the people of Atlantis, Greece, and Egypt. If lunar years, which were used by the same temple priests who related the story of Atlantis, are substitute for solar years, then this would bring the date of its destruction to around 1200 BC, coinciding with the Trojan War and the contemporaneous attack on Egypt by invaders known as the Sea Peoples. In any case, the precise time perimeters of Atlantis are unclear. A key factor in Plato's description was the system of irrigation canals said to cross the plain at regular intervals. In the beginning of my research, I sought to identify these canals in Bolivia using Landsat surveys of the area. However, at that time, 1983, the images were so small in scale that, although possible canals might be discerned, their positive identification was inconclusive. I later obtained high-resolution satellite images of the region, which clearly show a system of straight and parallel canals crossing the plain with transverse canals at regular intervals. Another system of canals appears to connect a system of wells for drawing water from underground resources. Originally, these canals would have fed a system of parallel waterworks, making the whole undertaking an immense and sophisticated system of engineering and representing a large population in an area presently consisting mainly of sparsely populated salt desert. It now remains to precisely locate these ancient channels on the ground, to measure them and establish the extent to which they may have covered the whole area during prehistory. Further investigation of these features might just reveal the capital city of Atlantis lies not beneath the sea, but under the sands of Bolivia. So that's the end of chapter 24. We're going to move on to chapter 25 now. American and Japanese dragons. Related or coincidence? This should be good. During the summer of 1983, I was involved in the research and preservation of public artworks. And just to be clear, all these different chapters have been taken from different various magazine articles, so they're all written by various people. They're not all written by the same person. This is Professor Nobuhiro Yoshida. Just so when I say I, you know who I'm referring to here. Chapter 25. During the summer of 1983, I was involved in the research and preservation of public artworks for a project known as Paintings of the Latticed Ceilings in Old Shrines. Sponsored by the Ministry of Education, we found no less than 5,000 paintings in the course of our restoration endeavors. It was then that I had a chance to discover a strange painting among the 80 illustrated panels long ago installed in the compartmentalized ceiling of a small shrine at Yukasashi, Fukuoka Prefecture. The building was named Hachi Rai, or 8 Thunders, after a powerful dragon believed to have lived about 3 miles north of the village on a sacred hill in a cave approximately 3,336 feet above sea level. That's an interesting number, isn't it? 3,336 feet above sea level where a dragon lives. Wow. The painting shows a winged dragon flying in stormy weather over agitated water. It was created by none other than Seiko Kano, father of the more famous Hoagi Kano, the most famous artist family and school of the Edo period. 15 years after my association with the art restoration project, I received a letter from Mr. J. Hahn in the United States. He wrote of a large pictograph or painting on stone that formerly existed near his home in East Alton, Illinois. Now that's interesting. There you go, Illinois people. East Alton, Illinois. A fucking giant red dragon that looks like one from Japan. That's interesting. Hadn't heard of this. This was the mysterious Piasu. And having learned of my work with the Japan Petroglyph Society, Mr. Hahn wondered if I observed any parallels it may have shown with other ancient rock art encountered during my travels throughout the world. He was kind enough to include a description of the image, together with an illustration of the Piasu from an old newspaper. I was unfamiliar with the North American pictoglyph, but was immediately struck by its resemblance to the dragon depicted by Seiko Kano in his painting for the ceiling of the Hachi-Rai Shrine. Both the American Piasu and the Japanese dragon have talons, are winged, bearded, horned, and multicolored. Too many diverse elements in common, it might seem, for mere coincidence. Moreover, I was aware of legends similar to those associated with the Piasu around Yukisashi. They tell of a blue dragon which dwelled in a high cave near the eastern summit of Mount Nuki. Below the cave ruins, the river Nagao, which means long tail, probably a reference to the dragon's tail, which he used to violently stir up the waters, just as the Piasu was said to have done. In fact, the Nagao connects with Mount Nuki's dragon cave and its Hachi-Rai Shrine. Unlike the murderous Piasu, however, dragons were the objects of Japanese prayers and rituals, because the creatures were personifications of drought-ending thunderstorms. Where people survived on the successful harvesting of rice and vegetables, rain was fundamental to life. Hence, the dragon was the bringer of welcome rains and was equally revered in ancient China. Perhaps these concepts traveled with early peoples migrating out of Mongolia across the Bering Land Bridge and throughout the Americas. Over time, the dragon degenerated from a helpful water deity into a monster. The origins of the Japanese dragon, in any case, are suggested by a recent find made by Mr. Tadahiko Ueno on the side of Mount Ragato in Amakusa, in the Kumato Prefecture. He discovered the large fossilized remains of a flying dinosaur, a species of pterodon, or pterodactylus, a genus of extinct flying reptiles found as fossils in the late Cretaceous deposits in both North America and Asia that existed more than 70 million years ago. Prehistoric myth makers have stumbled upon fossils such as the one located by Mr. Ueno and found inspiration for their happy dragon from its suggestive contours. On August 1st, 1673, Father Jacques Marquette was on a mission not from God, but from Louis Comte de Frontenac, the governor of New France, which is today's Quebec, Ontario, to find the direction and the mouth of the Mississippi River. And guess what? He was a Jesuit. The famous Jesuit missionary commanded a provisioned group of canoes carrying fellow explorers around a large curve in the river between what much later became the states of Missouri and Illinois, when a most amazing sight hove into view. As we were descending the river, he recorded later in his diary, we saw high rocks with hideous monsters painted on them, and upon the bravest Indian dare not look. They are as large as a calf, with head and horns like a goat. Their eyes are red, beard like a tiger, and face like a man's. Their tails are so long that they pass over their bodies, ending like a fish's tail. They are painted red and green and black, and so well drawn that I could not believe that they were drawn by Indians. And for what purpose they were drawn seems to me a mystery. Other 17th century explorers, including the renowned Jean Nicolet, who saw the Illinois rock art 40 years before Marquette, and Louis Hennepin, also visited the site. Both illustrations measured some 30 feet to 12 feet high, and the largest pictographs ever documented in Aboriginal America. Their location, about 80 feet above the river, was unique as well. How could the carving have been made on the sheer face of the cliff? Perhaps it wasn't a cliff then. Perhaps the Indians built scaffolds or let themselves down from the top by leather tongs. No, that was the first answer was correct. It wasn't a cliff then. Just like some of these mounds they found that are in the middle of swamps. It wasn't a swamp then. Or perhaps they built a huge mound of earth. Well, there's another. Yeah, there's another possibility. But according to Father Hennepin, the Illinois told us likewise that the rock on which these dreadful monsters stood was so steep that no man could climb up to it. If not the Indians, then who? Well, giants could, though, couldn't they? Huh. The rock on which these dreadful monsters stood was so steep that no man could climb up to it. If not the Indians, then who? Oh, I know who. You know who, right? Nowhere else in North America had anything else similar been recorded. They were singular for yet another reason. Indian petroglyphs usually were drawn from nature, from actual sight and experience. The Mississippi River pictographs are nightmarish fantasy figures different from representational forms found in Native American art. The large paintings portrayed a mythical beast known among many Middle Western tribes as the Piasu, or the bird that devoured men. They believe it dwelt in a cave high up in the cliff face above the Mississippi River, where it runs west to east for 20 miles from Grafton to Alton, Illinois, where the large pictographs were found. Now, that's interesting because that was the stories of these guys who went into these caves in Heath, Texas, which is right next to Rockwall, and found this abode of giants, you know, where he had a pot with human bones in it and stuff. And they claim that there was this giant bird that was like, get out, run away, you know, like barking shit out of this giant, like prehistoric-looking bird. And you can go to YouTube and type this in, I shit you not. They call it the Thunderbird. And the Thunderbird was in the Native American mythology as well. But there's been video footage of this stuff, and it's been on the news. Like, people have caught, I mean, literally, that people have witnessed this thing flying around, and it looks like a goddamn, you know, a fucking ancient pterodactyl or something. That's exactly what it looks like. There's something to this, because I've been on the tail of this for quite a while, and to see this reference here again, you know, it does make you wonder what that is. It's you know, they've called it a dragon, but it's some kind of, you know, prehistoric bird that's survived and stuck around in I mean, think about how much of the year, you know, there's like 35% or something like that. 35% of the United States has never been explored on foot because it's impassable territory. I mean, that's where your Sam Squanches and your fucking Nessies, or not Nessie, but you know what I'm saying. Skunk apes and all that crazy shit live. Pterodactyls, I'm sure. The bird that devoured men, they believed it dwelt in a cave high up the cliff face of the Mississippi River, where it runs west to east 20 miles from Grafton to Alton, where the large pictographs were found. The cave was washed away by rising floodwaters after the turn of the 20th century. But in 1840, Professor John Russell from Jersey County, Illinois, explored its interior to find innumerable bones littering the stone floor. The roof of the cavern was vaulted, the top of which was hardly less than 20 feet high. The shape of the cave was irregular, but so far as I could judge, the bottom would range between 20 and 30 feet. The floor of the cave throughout the whole extent was one mass of human bones. Skulls and other bones were mingled together in the utmost confusion. To what depth they extended, I am unable to decide, but we dug to a depth of 3 or 4 feet in every quarter of the cavern and still found only bones. The remains of thousands must have been deposited there. Who were these numerous dead? Human sacrifices to a cultic deity represented by the Piasu? Or were they victims of a natural disaster it personified? Native tradition recounts that one monster made the earth violently tremble when it beat its tail on the ground, while its partner thrashed the mighty Mississippi into huge waves, overspilling its banks and drowning all living things on shore. Such descriptions suggest cataclysmic geologic upheaval in an area infamous for deadly earthquakes. Alton is perched between 2 active fault lines, the Wabash and the New Madrid, of course, which in 1810 triggered the biggest earthquake in United States history. It was powerful enough to ring church bells as far away as Philadelphia and make the Father of Waters momentarily reverse its course, recalling Illinois stories of the Piasu catastrophically agitating the Mississippi River. That's crazy. So they're actual native stories that talk about this fucking big giant dragon beating its tail on the ground and causing the New Madrid earthquake of 1810. That's fucking amazing. I don't know about you, but that's like, holy shit. Because, what, think about it. What if this was, that they're seeing these dragons they're seeing as some projection, some advanced technology, some, maybe a shapeshifter, or maybe something has the ability to cloak itself as something else, and comes through periodically and adjusts itself to whatever is the believable meme of the time and the age. Back then, it would have been, people would have believed dragons and everything else. So they were trying to cause these events to happen for whatever reason, through terraforming or through trying to create. I mean, because again, we know that there are areas like I talked about earlier where, where the cliff was, where these things were drawn. It wasn't a cliff there originally, right? So possibly after this stuff was done, you started to see changes in the landscape. Well, same thing as in, these mounds that are in southern Alabama. There's one that's in the middle of a fucking swamp. Again, wasn't a swamp there when they originally built that mound, because they wouldn't have built the mound in the middle of a swamp. So it's possible, I think, or at least worth thinking about, that maybe these weren't actual physical dragons, but something that could make itself appear that way. Because it seemed that these things had an agenda, and I find it highly coincidental that this would have taken place, just coincidentally right around the New Madrid area, one of the most active fault lines, and that this got passed down as just some Indian legend for no reason. Researcher P.A. Armstrong learned from questioning Indian sources that the time when the Piasu existed in this country, according to the Illinois tradition, was many thousands of moons before the arrival of the Pale Faces. And what if the dragon is what if that's the feathered serpent? The one in the rock cave there? What if that's is that it? You shit me, right? That's not really it, is it? Holy fuck. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, again, those savage Indians who, according to Manifest Destiny, had nothing worth preserving or saving, but then later on, they tell us also, well, never mind, they built the mounds and they were sophisticated. They knew a lot about alignments and knew a lot about space and astrology. Wait a minute, you just told us they were devoid of anything worth saving. They were idiot savages. So, yet again, that's some idiot savage did. My God. And I like how it has that's some kind of chimera, hybrid, probably some genetic experiment gone awry. And nobody just did that for shits and giggles. That's unbelievable. I can't believe that's real. The detail's astounding. Fucking astounding detail. I wonder what it was done with. Man, I can't believe I just now found out about this. Did you guys know about this? Tesla, John Doe, you guys know about that? Yeah, I had never heard of this before. That's unbelievable to me, man. I'd like to go see that. Wonder if you can still see it. That's just, wow. Holy shit. Though indefinite as to the exact period, both indicate a very long period of time ago, many centuries. However old, the giant pictograph was so hated by Indians floating past it in their canoes that they invariably took pot shots at it as soon as they acquired firearms from their pale-faced dealers. Even so, Alton Piasu was still in at least a recognizable state of preservation when it was utterly destroyed in 1865 by prison laborers quarrying the cliff on which it had been painted. So apparently that's not the original. I guess that's got to be a recreation or something. It says here it was destroyed in 1865. So yeah, obviously that picture in the chat room can't be authentic. Writing 22 years after its loss, Armstrong concluded, the combination and blending together of the monsters specific to the earth, sea, and air, so as to present the leading and most terrifying characteristics of the various species, thus graphically arranged in an absolute wonder, and seems to show a vastly superior knowledge of animal, fowl, reptile, and fish nature than has been accorded to the Indian. Long before Armstrong, Father Marquette and others came to the same conclusion. Consequently, are overseas origins for the Piasu worth considering? Hildebrand writes, in medieval France, an effigy of the devil that bears some resemblance to these monsters was marched through the streets and ritually destroyed. Echoes of the Illini and Miami Indians who blasted away at the Alton pictograph whenever the opportunity arose. Indeed, the Drak, or the dragon, familiar in Teutonic Northern Europe from the Dark to High Middle Ages, was a similar figure appearing as a griffin or protective beast throughout funeral and other Nordic art. Although these old world comparisons with the Illinois rock art should not be completely dismissed, the dragon portrayed at Yukahashi's Hachi-Rai Shrine is a far closer match to the Piasu. The Japanese beast was said to have occupied a cave on the side of a mountain overlooking a river, just as the Piasu dwelled inside a bone-littered cave above the Mississippi. Psycho Kano's painting represents the Hachi-Rai dragon flying through a storm over tumultuous waters. It recalls one of the Piasas, which lathered the Mississippi to violence. The elements they share is common, though not total, but are nevertheless remarkable. Both have wings, talons, scales, beards, open mouths, long teeth, and horns. Now, the long beard makes me think of something out of ancient Assyria in Mesopotamia, which definitely leads me to believe that it could relate to genetic experiments possibly conducted by these quote-unquote Anunnaki. Yukahashi is very near the coast. Did its seafaring culture bearers, sometime in the unknown past, embark on a great expedition to the other side of the Pacific Ocean? In view of persuasive physical evidence for Japanese seafarers in pre-Columbian America, from Ryukyu metal tools at the Ozit site in Washington State to Jomon pottery shards in Valvidia, such voyages certainly took place. Sailing up the Mississippi River to the cliffs at Alton, Illinois, they may have familiarized the natives with an anti-drought cult symbolized by an abundance-giving dragon representing the elemental forces of nature. Over time, to propagate the god, perhaps following a killer earthquake, human sacrifices were offered, accounting of the hecatome to human skulls and bones in the Piasu's cave, and the creature's evil reputation among subsequent generations of Illini and Miami Indians. Half a century ago, Hildebrand wrote, men have sought the answer to this mystery for hundreds of years, but it still eludes them. Only the Mississippi, father of waters, could tell if it could speak. Fascinating stuff there. Into chapter 25. I did not know about that dragon rock painting thing in Illinois. That's fascinating stuff, man. And boy, there's, that's why I've had this idea of, doing a TV show, go around to go around and document this stuff, and also, in combination with my films and stuff. Because as you've been hearing me talk, there's just so much. There's years worth of material out there to be sought out and found. And, starting first with this rock wall and what it's led me to here, it's led me to want to go beyond that even and continue on with, exploring and trying to uncover places all over the world, Fascinating stuff. Well, that's going to do it for us. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us tonight. Again, please support our work if you hadn't. Support us. I know there's some people out there that have not supported us. You know who you are. And help those people out who are also helping us out. TheGlobalReality.com. Make a donation there and help us out. Have a great weekend. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a great one. Take care.